have opened the service for real, though. Yeah.
That's right.
Hallelujah. So look, we typically do not have as many announcements and opportunities for y'all to play. Because this is a lot to do. You know, it's not that we couldn't do this. It's that it's a lot to do. It takes a lot of folks to get it all together. But here's the thing. What we fully understand about principle is there is a point at which it is essential that you stop the forward motion long enough to give thanks for the distance that you've come. Somebody ought to understand what I'm talking about. Because, look, some of y'all don't even understand, and it's all right. I'm not requiring. You don't have to understand, because I understand. That 10 years ago, I'm going to say today, because it would be any day before November 4th, 2009. Heart and soul did not exist, other than in some of our hearts. We had a visioning circle that would meet in my home weekly, and we were doing the work of calling forth whatever Spirit would have for us. Now, that is work in and of itself, because in every moment, as Spirit would reveal something, you almost have to stop the knee-jerk reaction of, no, that's too much. Oh, that ain't, who does, has that ever happened before? Do you know anybody who has had that as their experience? So there's all of those, and y'all know what I'm talking about. Because as you go in for that doctor's appointment and there's a prognosis, there's a diagnosis that you're often left to believe that that's just the way it is. That everybody who gets this diagnosis is given this prognosis must go through this. I want you to specialize in finding the exception.
That's right.
Specialize in finding, you don't have to make a lot of noise, you don't have to cuss nobody out, you don't have to tell nobody off. Your hand will not be required to be on your hip, and your neck will not have to move. Throughout any of this, all you are required to do is to know that your work is to come into awareness of a time where that was not so.
That's right.
All you need, because why? It's done unto you as you believe. And if you can somehow just head off the belief that it has to unfold exactly like that, I know what the landlord said what the landlord said. Landlord's in the room notwithstanding. That don't mean it's going to unfold that way.
That's right.
Now, there's nothing I'm saying here that is to be interpreted as don't pay your rent. Not give your landlord your due. Let's be clear. I'm not saying that. Been a landlord myself. Render unto Caesar. Pay what you're supposed to pay, where you're supposed to pay it. And in the meantime, you have to know something beyond that. Because that's not the whole story. Yes? So, where we are right now is in what is in the vision realized. The thing is, this is not the complete vision. There is more that is yet unfolding, which is why we have a whole series of events. Because we know that the rest of the vision is going to require that all of us contribute in some way, shape, or form. We're going to be asking you to contribute outright. But we're also going to give you an opportunity to just play with us. To buy a ticket and come play. Come celebrate. Here's the thing about that. It's not just for the play. It's about programming our subconscious to be aware that we are living in a vision. A vision that everybody didn't believe it could happen. Right? You see, the fact that you are sitting on chairs right now. We got chairs, got a mic, got a piano, got a little organ sitting over there, got a own set of drums over here. None of that. 10 years ago, none of that. At this point, we didn't even have a name. maybe we just had the name, because this is mid-October. Maybe so, maybe no. We wasn't liking the name. I can tell you that. If we had the name, I wasn't liking it. And now I get it. Susan Taylor, I remember when we were first talking about it, neither of us did. And then one day, years later, she said to me, you know, it couldn't have been anything but Heart and Soul. And I was like, yeah, you didn't even like it. And I didn't like it either. But the thing is that the vision is like that. There's nothing about your vision that requires that you like it. Nothing at all. That's not the game we playing. This is not, come on in, you gonna like everything. This ain't that. This is instead something is happening. Get in it, get ready for it, do your part, and let it grow on you. Adjust to it. We weren't ready. I don't know what name we would have picked. Praise God, we got a visioning process and had sense enough to honor it. That right there. That right there, yes. So what's happening here that I don't want us to miss, and we have all of these events set up so that we set our awareness at a place where we continue to expand it. So we begin with my dear beloved sister Tracy Brown, who has timed out in her leadership role. That means she has been elected as many consecutive times as is allowed. So she cannot be elected anymore for at least another year. That's why. So she's going to be with us, and we'll be doing the service next week. And then that next week, Dr. Ken Gordon has also timed out. So he has been in position for 7 years, because once we put the organization back together. I don't know if everybody understands this, but and that to me is a high moment, and an example of visioning, because there was a time many years ago when it was one organization, when Ernest Holmes was alive and leading the organization, and there was a disagreement about how it ought to be handled, the education focus of it, and the programmatic focus of it. And like human beings will, when they get all in the mix and quit paying attention to what really matters, they decided, let's just quit it. And so the organization split, and 7 years ago, we had sense enough to do whatever was required to put it back together. Because how you going to do this and be acting like that in the background? You understand what I'm saying? So he has been our spiritual leader, which is the outward facing, the one who's out in the world, telling the world who we are and how we are. So he is at the end of, he cannot run again for another further, which isn't likely. Because we wear folks out, don't we? You know how we do. So he will be here. And this is, as Ruffalo said, this is very special. This is very special. He's Canadian, lives in Canada, and he's going to be here with us, and is an amazing heart. Then on November 10th, my prayer is that you will break off a piece of each and every bit of this. Yes? That you'll be a part of it. And if for any reason you're unavailable, can I ask you to buy a ticket anyhow? You know, or buy half a ticket. So that somebody who might otherwise not see themselves as being able to be there can be included. Yes? And it's your way of contributing. On November 10th, we will gather here in the Sunday afternoon about 4 o'clock. Stay tuned for the details. They are yet unfolding for a community candle lighting service. This is where we'll just stop the action and be prayerful. In gratitude about the 10 years that bring us to this moment. And then we have sense enough to look forward and to declare something about the next 10 years. For us to see a vision, to see what's possible for us for the next 10 years. But we're also going to acknowledge where the real power is. There's power in saying something about the past, and there's power in looking toward the future. But if you're not handling this exact moment right now, this millisecond, then you are not focused where the power is. Because the power is in the present moment. And so we'll do some work or some prayer around this present moment from an attitude of gratitude and appreciation and thanksgiving. And then we will, that next weekend will be our Urban Mindfulness Summit. And you see, it's a list of some of everybody who is doing the work, who can offer us something about mindfulness in an urban setting, yes? So that we can take better care of ourselves and each other. Because it's a both and opportunity for all of us. That following weekend, that's going to be the bomb with Ricky Byers. That following weekend, my dear sister Susan Taylor and my dear brother Michael Eric Dyson will be with us, and that's going to be a beautiful time because they do some amazing work together. So there's a message, there's an opportunity. Come be with us. We're holding that event at Oakland Center for Spiritual Living so that we can accommodate more folks. It's a larger venue. We'll have a greater opportunity to include more folks. We know there are a lot of folks who want to hear them. Michael has a new book out, just like, he's that guy, a prolific writer, brilliant mind. And so you want to experience some of that, and I want you to. So my prayer is that you'll be a part of that as well. That will also be where we will be able to hear from the youth who win the essay contest. See, there's something about, as we look to the future, look to the ones who have responsibility for it. Our responsibility is to lift them up. Amen. To call it forth. But it's the youth. Yeah. And what I know for sure, without having read Nan essay so far, is what I know for sure is that they have something up. They have a greater vision. They have a sight on the future that we cannot even imagine. And so I'm looking forward to hearing that. That's where we'll award the prizes, part of which will be for them to have some time with both Susan and Michael. Is there anybody here who doesn't remember a moment of reading a book by somebody that transformed our lives? Seeing somebody on television doing something that you had never seen, somebody who looked like you doing? Meeting somebody, being in the vicinity of somebody, and how that changes your life? That's what we're up to that night. Is changing some lives, impressing some good, having a positive impact on ourselves and our young folks as well. Yes? Yes. Yes. It sounds like just those 8 people right over there. We're in agreement. I was wondering, could y'all tell the rest of them? They're missing it. And then, the Friday after Thanksgiving, we're going to party. Because we got it like that. And after the work that we do and the way that we do it, nothing left to do. That's right. But celebrate it. Yes. So November is a month of celebration for us. And the celebration is about honoring how far we've come. And to know that we've come this far by what? Faith. By faith. We are celebrating a decade of faith. Of putting one foot in front of the other, one thought ahead of the other, no matter how it looked. What many of you don't know is there were those nights that I cried myself to sleep. But what I knew for sure was that this was mine to do. And that it really didn't matter how difficult it got or how difficult I thought it was. That there was something greater that was unfolding here and through and as me. And that my work was to show up through grace and a greater knowing. And that's what we're all called to, yeah? So here's my prayer. My prayer is that, what I left out is that we're gathering on Saturday, November 2nd, to see our matron sing. And that's a part of all of this. Because as Revelo reminded you, Harriet Tubman, Mother Harriet, has been a part of our consciousness since before we knew our name. And so this feels like an important moment for us to be present and be aware of the power of faith, in faith believing, and the transformation of circumstances through faith believing. Yes? Here's what's also true. Is when they count the receipts and start rating movies, they get the results from the opening week.
That's right.
And that's why we've chosen that week. My expectation, given our community, our space only holds 150. Here's what I'm asking of y'all. Day after tomorrow when I ask for the numbers, I really want to hear it be sold out.
Yeah.
I mean, because who are we for real? 150 seats, really? We can do this. And my prayer is that we do it expeditiously. And we move on knowing that we got this part covered. Yeah. All of this, each and every one of these events is planned to transform our awareness of what is possible for us. To remind us that we are always at the precipice of transformation. If you're here this morning, and you are, no matter how you got here, if somebody brought you here and you didn't really know what they were taking you to and you're really trying to figure it out for sure by now, just tell them thank you. Just know that there's something about your being here right now that's a blessing. See, you don't have to figure out every blessing before you give thanks.
That's right.
This is part of a spiritual practice. To begin practicing giving thanks before you even figure out what the good is for you. Those who have to wait till they get to good to give thanks, they on the slow bus. The rest of us are moving to the head of the class where we give thanks. I don't even know what this is, but thank you, God. Thank you so-and-so for bringing me here, because I know I wouldn't be here if my good was not included. See, this is the way we want to retrain our minds to be looking for the blessing even before it can be identified. I know there's a blessing here for me. It will be revealed in due time, today or whenever I figure it out. But let me just, my mama used to say, know what size your bread is buttered on.
That's right. Come on, Mama.
And so if you understand the meaning of that saying, you just discern, my bread is buttered right here. Let me give thanks for it. And it will be revealed in due time what the details are. Does this make sense? So the month of November in Science of Mind magazine is mindfulness. And so we're being mindful of how far we've come. And that we have another further to go, which is why it's also a fundraising time. We want to get to 2020 in different circumstances. We've been making our way, and I've been a little shy about asking for a good while, and I'm working all that out. But we're not starting 2020 acting like we don't know better. We know there's no way to do all we want to do and we expect to do without us doing it. You know, I could say whatever that number is that the board is looking for, here's what I know. We know where it is. We know exactly where it is. We know exactly where it is. And the good news is that we have it. In our pockets, in our accounts, in a sock somewhere. What we know is that as we begin practicing gracious giving, our lives are transformed. And this game, the Heart and Soul Center of Life game, is a game of transformation. So I'm going to be calling y'all out just as I call myself out. I'm going to ask you to give at a greater level, and you can twist your mouth. But what I want you to do is while you're twisting your mouth, talk to somebody who's played the game. Don't talk among yourselves and talk yourselves into po-mouth. Be sure you consult with somebody who has transformed their life by giving more than they thought they could give. Somebody right now is even questioning. Don't do it. That's exactly right. Do not do it. I know what I'm talking about. I once sat there and thought, now really, that I learned to tithe as a child. I don't even know what they said. They said something to me that made sense, and I start giving it up, and I have to tell you, As a result, I live a quality of life and have consistently. Because that law I understand.
That's right.
I understand giving. And let the rest work itself out. Any question about that?
No.
That's not rhetorical, by the way. Because if somebody can have a breakthrough, let's do it.
That's right.
Okay. If ain't no question, it's going to look different this afternoon. I mean, it's got to. We have so much on the line. The quality of our lives, individual and collective. And is there anybody who doesn't want life to look different than it looked on Friday on MSNBC? I'm just saying, I don't know what y'all watch. If you watch, then it's got to look different. And that's up to us. There's nobody who's working right now to do it for you. Nobody. That's our vision work, our heart work. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Y'all getting weak with the yeses. I just want you to know I'm listening. Matthew 8:13 is, just to synthesize it, it is done unto you. Come on, help me out.
As you believe.
So we are engaged in the game of belief. Watching what it is I've been believing, what it is I believe right now, what it is I intend to believe. Jan Van Zandt in Acts of Faith. And this is essential because we are reading, for this year, through December, we are reading daily the Acts of Faith, the current edition, the new anniversary edition. 25th anniversary edition, I beg your pardon. She says there is no lack in our lives unless we believe there is.
Huh.
If there's any, watch how you respond. Inwardly. If
That's
someone
right.
says that can't be true, because what? Just be aware that that's a belief. And that belief has some consequences.
Got it.
It's not like some beliefs have action and other beliefs just are neutral and you can get away with those. They all have a consequence to them. They all unfold in some way, and the belief that this isn't true unfolds in a certain way for you. So, for anybody who's not sure, can I just suggest that you go along?
Act as if.
Because some of us do understand it and know. So it could be like, what do you want to follow? Do you want to just explore out there in the wilderness, or you want to come on in? So she's saying that belief is the key to what we see, what we have, and what we accomplish. Belief is everything. Everything the Creator has made or given us exists in abundance already. I often remind me that nothing is being created. We are simply taking what's here and using it to greater good. Yes? Think about your little smartphone and whatever it takes to create that, or automobiles, and however they are improving them or changing them. They are not creating new stuff. They're using stuff that's here.
That's right.
In new combinations.
That's right.
Yes?
Yeah.
So it's all already here in abundance. Too many of us are waiting on other folks to figure it out, though, I'm just saying. Unfortunately, many of us are unaware of this fact, which makes us consumers. We're waiting for folks to do it for us. And when we're not aware of God's goodness, the divine's goodness, grace, beauty, and unlimited wealth, we accept less than. We accept lack, restriction, and limitation as a part of life, just like it has its own real vibration, rather than being what happens when you don't believe. You see the difference? It's just when you don't do what's right, then you get what's left. And you get this limitation. But because it's done unto you as you believe, you're believing that this is how life works. Only if you're not doing life. Only when you're sitting back and in our behavior. Because vision isn't really doing anything. You got to act with it. You got to believe it. You know, so there's a vision. Most of us miss whatever the vision is to begin with. Because we're not focused in. So something has to happen. You focus in on the vision. You believe something about it. You take some action. That's what's going on here. So if we want abundance, we got to think abundantly. If we want peace, what? You want joy. You want love. So it's not that we don't know what to do. It's that we just refuse to do it. We want peace. We argue with people about the absence of peace. We want joy. We want to beat somebody else up because they're blowing our joy. Yes. If we're going to move beyond the struggle, the hardship, the restrictions we find in life, we got to open our eyes and remember that all that the Father has is mine. Come on, prodigal sons and daughters. To remember that all of this abundance is intended for us, for all of us, but only by right of consciousness. Do you understand what that is, by right of consciousness? It means you must believe you have access to it.
Yeah.
Puts your shoulders back a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, you mean I have access to that? That health and wellness? That abundance and prosperity? Relationships that sing? Some I really want to be? You mean I can have access to that?
Yeah.
Only if I'm vibrating at that level, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I must match my vibration to that. Yes. Ooh, we got work to do, y'all. Because we want it to be different. We must throw ourselves with complete abandon into the all-consuming fire of inward conviction. That's when I say that there have been those times that if I wasn't committed, I wouldn't have been here. But as a result, it wasn't even a consideration. When I think back, I'm thinking, I surely would have considered, but I didn't. Why? Because I'm convicted. Because I know this is mine to do, so there's no question. If you're in a relationship right now and you're not clear about that, you're not convicted around it. There's still an option. There's still options. And I'm not chastising you around that. That's okay. Work through. To be where you are, just know that's where you are. I think you're convicted and committed. You just there for the whole anything that happens when you got the back door cracked. I'm just saying. I mean, it's okay. Just know that that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to invite us to say this together. You see it here? I know that the divine spirit is operating through me now. I know that I am not limited by anything that has happened or by anything that is now happening. Pause for a moment and take that in because you just said something. Take that in. Nothing that has happened, not even what's happening now, can change your game if you're convicted. If you know, because it is done unto you as you believe. Yes? So we continue. I am entering into an entirely new set of conditions and circumstances. Praise God. That which has no limit is flowing through my consciousness into action. I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination which scatters the moonbeams across the waves and holds the forces of nature in its grasp. Ashe. 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 You are the one. Ernest Holmes goes on to say, a person separated from you, but the person operating through you. That's the relationship that we claim with and as the divine. You are the one. You're the one you've been waiting for. You're the one you've been praying about. Say it with me. I am the one. I
to all of you, but in particular, Misha Mosley. Hey, my sis, my family, my heart. I'm yawning, 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 I'm yawning. I am changed. I am the new beginning. Beyond the dream, I am the dream reborn. Beyond a little bit more further. I am now, I am real, I am yours. And like your breath, your faith, your conscience, a collective voice, this power of one. Like you know that you know forever. You are one. I am the one, I am the one, I am the one. I am the one, 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 I am the soul, the pulse of the main street, heart of the ghetto, the soul, more than an audacity to hold the proof, we all chose it. See, when this road gets rocky and rough, we push on forward. Forward, man, I'm all of you. I am the one, I am the one, I am the one. I am the one, I am the one, I am the one. Sing back. I am the one, I am the one, I am the one. I am the one. We have gone beyond revolution, evolution, the power of one. We have gone beyond revolution, evolution, the power of one. We have gone beyond revolution, evolution, the power of one. We have gone beyond revolution, evolution, the power of one. When they offer you the opportunity to be mediocre, refuse them. Tell them that you've got things to do in the stars. With your hands tangling, a brilliant scheme of firelight amidst the bright spangling of stars above. Tell them that you are a hero. That you have come to change the world. That you've got songs to sing and ideas to bring to life, and chances are it ain't gonna happen if you too busy standing on the corner holding up the block. Come on. Tell them that you are working with more than money. Come on. And it might be difficult for their minds to get a grip on all that you're working with simultaneously, but tell them that you are the shine burning off the sun. The lilted morning swirling down the horizon, say you've got the bright of day in your bones. You've got tones of answer prayers living up in your lips like magic to be needed out upon this needed moment. Tell them that you're working with more than money. world. And when they ask you who you are, you say, I'm you. And you are me. And together, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo means devotion to the mystic law of cause and effect through sound and vibration. The devotion to the mystic law of cause and effect through sound and vibration. That's like saying word. Feel me? It's in form such that the ocular system can even discern it. This first vision requires that we see it within our mind. Nothing happens until mind engages and directs brain, frankly. So our work here is to practice, is to become adept, to develop mastery in seeing what is not yet formed. And
each of us already has a level of mastery because that's what a nightmare is. Anytime you've had a nightmare, anybody here who's never had a nightmare, and you don't have to close your eyes, by the way, to have a nightmare. But if you've had a nightmare ever, you have mastery of this process. Because it means that you have entertained in your inner vision something that does not exist. And you have entertained it so profoundly, so accurately, in such a compelling way that you're actually afraid. You scared yourself by something that is not yet happened. And some of you could give testimony, it never did happen. But Lord, I was scared. And it's because you are so good at this. The key is to apply it in ways that you absolutely want to engage with. So now you want to practice that same skill that we have just acknowledged you have. We're now going to apply it to just what you truly desire. Your heart's desire of the healing of the planet. The children being safe. All children, not just those we can name. All children. That the elders can rest and eat. Yes. This we can do. It's not that deep. It's not like we got to make food. Or construct safety. We must simply call it forth and discern others as worthy of it. There really are no others, but it's this idea of seeing seeing where it's not, where it's absent, where it appears to be absent, where it feels like it's wanting, and see that happen. We have no idea the power we have. The power of seeing these concentration/detention centers. To see all of that shifted. We must see it first in mind. And hold it. And not gossip about it. Because for every time we speak of it in the way that it exists, we expand that experience. Our attention, our mind activity is so powerful that it's like one of those horror movies where we see the goop, the blob. Oh, y'all know these things. The goop, saying goop didn't even work. This must be my drive, I'm telling you. So what is it, the blob?
Yeah.
So it's that the blob is life. It's the energetic kind of plasm of the universe, and our mind gives it some activity. So when we see, it's nothing but a blob. It ain't nothing. That's all it is. But we think into it something.
That's right. Thank you.
We think it's come to harm us, and then our armpits start sweating, and our heart starts beating. You see what I'm saying? We're already in a nightmare now. All it is a blob. And in the case we're talking about, it's a Hollywood blob. It's not even your blob. You know what I mean? It's not like a blob right here and you're like trying to get away from it. You watching it on the screen blob. But we're so good at this. Do you see what I'm saying? We're so good at this. We're sweating in the cinema. Scared spitless. But this is how it works. When you understand that this is how it works, we begin to see that we cannot afford to use our minds in all of these arbitrary ways. We can't afford it. We got stuff to do. Didn't somebody ever tell you, baby, you can't afford to do that?
That's right.
I'm here to tell you today, if nobody told you today already, you can't afford to do that. You don't have to watch your mind and address it. I think we need to treat it like well-trained dogs. Get back over here. Don't be over there humping legs and chasing after cars. I'm just saying, control, you need to get it trained. If you see the folks in the dog park,
Say that.
they don't even have to say that loud. You know, yeah? That little one gets right back over there. But these other ones, they just be hollering, trying to chase the dog with the leash hanging behind it. And that's like our minds. You want to be able to just... When I call to my mind, I want it to heal, baby. We're not going there. I know we've been doing that. We've been chasing after ideas that didn't serve. We've been just ruminating on stuff that hurt our feelings.
All that mess.
All that mess. And what is that? That's waiting for the next command. Because I got the energy to do whatever. What we doing? We're going to do something productive with it.
That's right. That's right.
Yes? We're going to see something different. I love this last part here.
Oh, Lord.
Where it says, if we can see it, and we must see it. It's not if we can see it, it's when we see it. When we see it, it's we are calling it into being. And that's our work. My work here is done because our work, what I came to say is we are celebrating what Heart and Soul has really done.
That's right.
It started from nothing and called it into being. So y'all had chairs to sit on. So that there would be some speakers. None of this existed. And so it is with your vision.
That's right.
You're saying, but I don't know. I don't have the money. We didn't have none of that. And you sitting on chairs and you can hear me because I got a mic. None of that. There wasn't no speakers, wasn't no sound system, wasn't no laptop.
Wasn't no building.
Wasn't none of that. Some of y'all were there. You know it was a dream and we had to dream it together. We had to see it. And then when we walked up on it, we this is it. But if there's no vision, how are we going to recognize whether we with him or not? Whether this is it, yes. Oh, y'all make me work way hard. Way hard. This dreaming that we're doing is that we are dreaming a world where all of us have all that we need to thrive. And that's an easy dream. Because the universe has everything. We don't have to make it to thrive. We don't. It's already here. But we must be worthy of calling it into our experience. Which means we have to see ourselves as living at that level. Living in the vibration of that good. Vibrating at that frequency. That's our work. That's our work. And as we do that, we are victorious.
I dream a world. Where's our keyboard? Where all of us have all we need to thrive. Not the least of us is least because we all see the eye and This is gonna be the nice remix. Victorious! Chartering the path that is yours to behold, who will. Life is one. the blessing, the